everybody, to another episode of Be Fearless Podcast. And I haven't done like a rookie mistake like in 2 years, and today was one of those days. So yes, on the live video, you might have like listened something that should have been listening. It's nothing bad, but I always like to enter your platforms, your screen with a beautiful introduction. However, this is going to be awesome today. If you're listening from wherever you're listening, I need you to, number one, if you're on Facebook, hit the follow button, leave me some stars so I can continue making this content for you, and stay for this beautiful interview, because I bring you today an amazing woman. Okay, you have to listen to her story. Our guest today is a native Brazilian who celebrates music and culture of Brazil through songs. And her work reflects the pluralism of nature and the cultures she hails from. Her multicultural and multilingual identity enrich her performance as a singer and songwriter, breaking the barriers in multiple languages like Portuguese, English, Spanish, Hebrew, Arabic, Yiddish, and Ladino. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the one and only Carla Berg. Hey, Carla, welcome.
Hello, everybody. So nice to be here with you. And I just came back from Brazil recently. Just recently came back from Brazil. We made it.
Yes, Brazil is on my wish list. Like, I definitely have to go to Brazil. So I might ask you later for some tips in there. Carla, yes. For the audience, the people out there that have not met you yet, can you tell us who was Carla Berg growing up, and what was your dream?
Oh my goodness, growing up. Yeah, it's a whole mixed culture story, because I was born in Brazil, but I don't feel totally necessarily Brazilian because I come from families of immigrants. We were just talking, as I'm Jewish, that's my religion, because I was born from my mom, that it's a Jew, and she came from Lebanon to Brazil with her family. Her grandmother was the first one to come a long time ago, like to try out, because the weather could be better for her sickness and all that. And then slowly the whole family immigrated step by step. And funny or not, my father came from Israel to Brazil. A lot of Israelis go to Brazil after the military, but he came to try life also. And so in the end, my uncle ended up working for my father, and that's how my parents met. So they first moved to Rio de Janeiro, where then all my mom family came, and my grandfather became a cantor in Copacabana, one of the main, beaches area in Rio, beautiful. So I didn't grow up there. I moved to São Paulo, the other city, but I was always there for the Jewish high holidays with my grandfather, and listen to him to teach the boys for bar mitzvah, the majority, when the boys turn 13, and learn all the players. So the melodies that stayed in my mind, I was always like singing through prayers. And when you ask what I wanted to be when I grow up, I didn't know exactly, but I certainly have a foot on the music, and I always played piano and, participating in many things. I recently find my first instrument that it's kind of like a flute, but it's not a flute. I said, I don't even know what that is. I have to figure out. But I played piano and was always around those, and his melodies were varied through the Sephardi, the Jews that come from Europe, the Jews from Portugal. My family is from Arabic countries. So we feel that those melodies, and nowadays I've decided to integrate Brazilian styles with these Jewish styles, and it's very challenging. But the pandemic opened up a whole new world to me, because I like to do this different languages and all. And growing up, the same thing. I would sing in choirs, and a lot. I was always with the Spanish, and close to traveling with choirs to Argentina, to Israel. my ear was getting ready. And when I finally have 20 years ago, I moved to US. So it's this whole thing. Now I'm American, and I'm also on the board of Mexico and Tijuana. So I'm here in San Diego. And so I'm always listening to all these styles.
Mhm.
So as a child, I used to play a teacher, which I am an educator, a childhood. So I became a teacher. I worked many years, 9 years in Brazil, 1 year here. Then I became a mom, and the whole thing. And I've never give up the music. So I've always did vocal coaching, very specific, and I had even more time to dedicate to that. And people would say, "But where do you sing? I want to hear." And when I went to choirs here for the Jewish choirs, because in Brazil that's what I did, I wasn't finding something very specific. So I ended up starting to do my own career, my own thing. I first
That's fantastic. So let me ask you a question. So you arrived to the United States, you were a teacher, you become mom, and then you just like go for vocal coaching and helping people with the vocals. But how is it that you decided that you had that moment of enlightenment and said, okay, I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna become a singer. I'm gonna start singing and songwriting. How that happened?
Yeah, that was really in the pandemic. I was actually, because the first time I only did covers. I always wrote things, but I would put aside and think, oh, this is nothing. I don't know how to do. And in the pandemic, I was invited to sing in a virtual event, actually, with two other musicians, singers, for like a holiday event. Not really Christmas, but obviously around Christmas time.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought to myself, well, I didn't grow up singing Christmas song, and I can definitely just learn a couple because I just had to perform a couple of things. But that's when I thought, you know what? Why not to show everybody my own culture? And it's Christmas is close to Hanukkah,
Yes.
which to me Hanukkah it's so special because it means miracle. It's really
Yeah.
about the miracle. So then I started to compose a song about miracle, and I always wanted to do this other language that I hadn't recorded before. That's called Ladino. It's the language of the Jewish, that the Jews, where they spoke this language before they were expelled from Spain in Portugal, and in 1492, right, in the Inquisition and all that. And this language is mixed. It's a dialect that involves all the languages that I grew up with, because my parents spoke Arabic at home for us not to understand. And then there's Portuguese. I grew up in Brazil. Spanish, I've been dealing with. Hebrew, I study at school. And then there's also Greek, Turkish. This language is really a combination of so many languages. French was my mom's second language, so she tried to teach me. It was too late. I said, I gotta learn English. I don't know English yet. Barely I knew I was gonna become an American. So because of that, I one day I woke up with the melody in my mind, because like I was saying, these melodies that my grandfather used to do the tunes with the liturgic thing that he prayed.
Mm-hmm.
I create a melody, and then I create the chorus of the song talking about God, talking, and I started to investigate, because I started to learn the language in the pandemic and find people that are all over the world. It's very, the Ladino hablantes, as we call the people who speak. They come from many different places, so they are all spread around the world. It's mainly in Israel, then Washington, Turkey. I even did a project with kids in Turkey, because I really want to involve the younger people generation, so we
Mm-hmm.
can. And this language is always kept through song. So I'm learning. It's really hard. It's very close to Spanish, but it's not Spanish. Sometimes one little letter changed the whole word,
Yes.
and I have to be so careful when I change. But anyway, then I started to compose the song. Obviously, I mix English and Portuguese and all. So at first, in that virtual event, I performed the song in English, which I'm actually gonna release that song in English this Hanukkah. Every Hanukkah, every holiday, I'm gonna do in another language this song. But at first, when I released in Ladino, because it was the language I really was missing to do, and the style of it, and our hope and the miracle of the vaccine at the time. It kind of mixed it up everything. The Hanukkah, the vaccine, everybody doing everything on Zoom. And to me, that was the miracle, becoming, doing something good with the time of the pandemic for me, not to go crazy, and put it into the creativity. It was the best. So that was my aha moment when I said, yes, I can do this. And it was so appreciated, and all that. And I could also spread. I also sung a song in Hebrew, Amen, because I thought, man, everybody say Amen, right? No matter which kind, which religion, where you go. So there is a song, Amen. So I had to do two songs, and this was the open eye to me. Then I grabbed everything that I've been writing, and I started to really put together with collaborators. Of course, I had to get together with musicians that understand my language and played with me, and we created. So beautiful.
I love that. And I love that you mentioned how that creativity process changes as you create in different languages, and how careful you have to be.
Yeah.
Because just one single letter can change the whole meaning of a sentence, therefore, the whole song. Um, how was, because I'm pretty sure there's other people out there feeling the same way. um I actually feel the same way because I was born in Puerto Rico, and I think in Spanish, right? Well, I'm speaking English,
Yes.
which is insane, right? How how is it that you created that creative process that allows you to connect these languages? um what entails that creative process per se? Like, do you have to kind of like sit down and kind of like think up through the whole thing? What is it? How it works?
It's funny you ask that, because what happens is that in the first classes I was taking of Ladino, I would get a little bored because some things were very easy when the beginning class, because the numbers, or the, and but then all of a sudden they start talking so much about food, right? So I would write the vocabulary of the food, and then I started to think about my grandma and what she, because she used to cook a lot. And I started to, in the end of the class, when the class finished, I would write some sentences with that vocabulary that I learned in the class, mostly
Mm-hmm.
food related, because the Ladino, a lot of that is the tradition to, Jewish. We do a
Mm-hmm.
lot of, and then in another when it become a time of another Jewish holiday, which is Purim, which is when the Jews were saved for being killed. I put all this together. That's I use the vocabularies. They also talk about sewing, and my grandma used to sew. And then my grandma, it's called Esther, and Esther was the queen who saved the Jews in that time.
That's my
So
favorite book.
that's when what I started to think, that I'm gonna every Jewish holiday compose a new song. And in Purim, I composed this song, but it's not like I. So that's what I'm saying. In the classes, I would write and let it go. But when I started to think of a project, I remember what is related to that project. So Esther was her name. Cooking, doing. Then I talk a little bit about my grandma as a cantor, but I'm still going to do a song just for him, because I'm hoping to put my voice with his voice. We have very few recordings of him, but I'm dying, and I'm studying what would be the best liturgic, thing to do, because I do some liturgic, some not, with his voice and mine, because it would be the only thing we have of him. Nowadays, it's so
Mm-hmm.
easy to record. At that time, we didn't have anyway. So everybody's very emotional about, because he's very known in Brazil. Now I'm meeting people who tell me, "Oh, your grandpa, sure, you're doing this. I can't believe you're a singer. He taught my kid for the bar mitzvah, right? The ceremony we do." So I connected with these people through the pandemic, and they all been very helpful. I couldn't do any of this without the teachers, all the Ladino teachers around the world. My main teacher is in Dallas, but she was born in Izmir. And she's the one who created the Ladino Comunidad, this community where you can only write in Ladino, and also it's very challenging for me. She checks everything I do, and I'm doing it, and so many WhatsApp groups. But that's how I feel like, if I can't stop and study. I have to study according to what I'm trying to create. Then
Mm-hmm.
I go look for the meaning, and I ask people around, and we troubleshoot until I go into that's the example of Purim. But then I also wanted to do the Brazilian. I don't want to stop singing Brazilian music. So I create a forró. Forró is this very specific Brazilian style that is happy, it's dancing. And in Purim, as we do a lot of customs, right? We do that. So I thought for that situation, it made also more than a samba or a jazz. It's every project I'm trying to combine those things according to the subject and the style of the music that could match that subject, and putting some instruments that can go either in the Brazilian music and in the Jewish. They have kind of a funny way of the percussion situation, and that's what you can hear when you hear my things. I call another project I do the agogo, which is kind of a call for when we do the day of repentance. So to me, that Brazilian instrument is just like a shofar, the thing we blow, because it's a wake-up call. It's like a calling, and that's how it is in the samba too. So I'm trying to see how I'm gonna do how I'm going to integrate all this and not abandon, because I like to do everything. So I kind of stay all over the place, and that can confuse my audience. I understand.
Yeah.
It seems like people are following and interested in learning. A lot of people say, oh, I find out I'm a little bit 10% Jew or something. And this has a lot to do with the new Christians and a lot of people investigating about that. It's very curious.
I love that. And like I was telling you behind scenes before we started, I went through your music last night and I loved it. And I could definitely identify those little details of the Jewish culture and their music in the sounds and the different videos that you have. And I loved it. I think that makes your music very unique. And it definitely resonates with your intentions of breaking barriers. Talking about breaking barriers, how has breaking barriers has been for you? How that process of breaking those multicultural barriers through the music has been for you, and how that has impacted your success?
Yeah, it's very significant to me, everything I do, because some of the Orthodox Jews don't listen to women singing usually. So that is difficult sometimes for me, because I grew up going to Orthodox synagogues and all, and I never prayed read from the Torah and pray that specific in the liturgic. And that's a barrier to break in a way, because when I started to study the liturgic to connect with what my grandpa used to do and create, like I wanted to know this called piyutim, which is the poems, the thing that they talk so good about, and it's through melodies. And I said, well, in the synagogue we do in Hebrew, but now I want to do in the other language that I sing, so we can keep like that. So I connected with a cantor from Seattle, and he showed me a lyric that I've never heard in Ladino, which is exactly that other language. And I thought, wow, this song has been recorded only in Hebrew. I want to do in Ladino. And it's beautiful. But it is a prayer. It is something that usually, the women's don't sing in the synagogue. And I have been doing, I haven't run a whole service or anything, but I like to do, or when I pray for God and I hear people saying, oh, in my synagogue, we sing that song, Enke Eloheinu, there's nobody like our God. And they said, I sing in Ladino. And I said, let me see. And when I look at the lyrics, I, that barely knows about the music, I saw some mistakes, because I told you people just do as Spanish. And I said, let me. So I've decided it's like, I want to be an anchor for to show, well, we can do this better than we're doing, because if we're going to preserve we got to really preserve it right. And my teacher saw, and she's like, no, this is not how you say. There's very little differences, but it makes a difference, especially in the pronunciation. The D I have to do as a TH. And as a vocal, so I created a whole arrangement for this song, and in a way that you can, it's almost like when you go to the gospels, and have fun as you
Mm-hmm.
do, but also connecting, because a lot of the Jews know that, but they always sing in the same way, in the same melody. And I want to do this in a different style so I can keep the roots and the styles of the Brazilian and all that. And it's a little bit of a barrier for me to decide those things about religious. I also learned a lot of Holocaust. From Holocaust, I always thought it's just for the Ashkenaz Jews. Then I was invited to sing in events virtually too, and I started to look for songs that were written for the Sephardi Jews, even though, because they have been through a lot of war too, and my
Mm-hmm.
family come from a struggle from Lebanon and all this from the war, but they never taught me any specifics about that. Sometimes it was funny in the Seder, the Passover thing, that they
Mm-hmm.
would sing songs in Arabic, and I was like, what? It's like very different. Everybody has their little community, and
Mm-hmm.
my idea is to try do something that everybody, even though it's a little different, the words are the same, or is in a different language, but you can connect because it's through the Brazilian music, which is kind of universal. If I do right some style that people get familiar with and like and can
I think that's a
pick it
fantastic
up.
fusion. I think that what you're doing, I love what you're doing. Just even by hearing you talking about it,
Yeah.
because you are not only creating fusion between different cultural sounds, but you also preserving heritage in tradition and culture, um, in with your music in and your projects. I definitely love that, and I really want to commend you for doing that, because not everybody does it.
Thank
um
you so much. The
uh
only thing I want to tell you about Barry is definitely this projects that I've done with people from different places around is definitely a barrier during the pandemic that we were locked in the house. So we had to learn a lot of how to deal with IT situations to send files to connect. And then one time, this project that I do in Turkey, one time we finally had a meeting. There were 4 people in the meeting. Not all of them spoke one language in common, so it was terrible. And I was like, I had to translate for this one, the other one, because my producer is in Brazil. At that time, I was producing in Brazil. There's a lot of things with lawyers that I had to check because I had kids involved. So that's a barrier, definitely, to understand the whole bureaucracy involved, and to, that part. The creative part is fun, it's all, but the other part is a barrier about the business of it itself. How I know I'm here, but I have people from there, and what this one does and what that one do, and how to put all together, and the video clips that I sometimes did way ahead of time, and maybe I'm not going to use until later, or I have to wait until I go to Brazil and end up doing a project there. But in the end, it was a lot of work. Like, I can't believe I even did it. Like, this would be so easy to give up and say, why to do all this? Why? So it was definitely hard in
it
that
is,
sense.
but I think it's a very important work what you're doing, because this is something that you actually creating a legacy, not only for your children and your family, and people within your culture, but also for the world. I mean, you're preserving something that is important for you, and it will be important for many others in the future. So I truly want to say thank you for doing that, and setting the example, right, for other people to do the same within their own culture and
See,
music. Yeah.
is their
So
connection is bad?
no, you're good. I can see you. You're good. We're good. I can hear you.
It
Can you hear me?
seems.
Is your video is a little bit choppy and slow right now, but you're good. Your audio is good. Can you hear me?
It's. I
Hello.
think your connection went bad. Let's see again. Are you
Mm,
you're
there you
frozen?
are. Oh, I'm
Am I
frozen.
frozen?
No, you're good. Hey. No, don't.
Uh,
Whatever happens, don't close the chat. Don't close the video. Hello. No. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're still transmitting. For some reason, her video is not working. Um, let's give her. Yep, her connection dropped. Um, Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you one thing. Is there something that I truly admire from this woman is that she has taken up on the tasks to teach other people, not only to work with their vocals, but also she is doing something that many of us in many cultures should do, and that is actually she's back. Hold on. Is actually creating, that content uh for creating a legacy and preserving culture. I was just kind of like giving you time to come back. Thank you for
oh,
reconnecting. It happens. It happens. Yo, people, this is live. This is
oh, yeah.
live interview, and those things
The
happen.
first, yeah, the first virtual event I sang, it was crazy. One in each body's house, and he's playing that way, I'm playing here, but it worked fine. That's
And that's
right.
the beauty of virtual interviews and events. So, um, Carla, before we go, let's see. Hold on one second. You are promoting your most recent single, which is
It's love.
"It's
That's a
Love." I
different kind.
love
It's not, yeah, it's love. There's so many kinds of love, but this one is one that I compose with my partner, with my friend, because I'm really dealing with this getting close to emptiness, which is going to give me the chance to go touring more. I already have something in September in New York, and I'm hoping to perform more than just once there because I'll be visiting more my daughter who is leaving to study there. And this is about a love of the parenting and how we sometimes that's how I felt. And I love jazz, and that felt like a jazzy thing. Like, it's, I hope all the mothers connect to it, or the fathers and the
I'm pretty,
families in general.
I'm pretty sure a lot
Yeah.
of people is gonna connect to that because that's a subject that is really touching to any parent. I mean, it is, if for a daughter or a son, it's amazing, or it could be a big impact living their home once they're grown up. I can't imagine how that feels from the other side. And I bet that a lot of people will be able to connect with you on that song. So you guys have to go. I listened to it last night. It is a beautiful song. You'll have to go see it and watch it and listen to it. It is currently available on YouTube. Is her last single is Love. It's Love. I love that. I love even the title. And
I have the video clip in YouTube, but you can listen to the song in any platform. The next
yes.
one I'll be dancing again as the last one, but a different style, not forró. Every time I'll change a little bit with a samba. I did that one in Rio. My next video, it's Morenica. It's a very special Sephardi traditional song, but I'm doing more of a sensual dance because that's what calls for too.
I love that. And then
So
where
yes.
people can connect with you and reach out in order to hire you for events and all that good stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've been getting so many calls where people reach from WhatsApp, but the best it's my email. You're gonna put there, it's carlaberg.info@gmail.com. All together. Carla with the C, carlaberg.info@gmail.com. But you can find me in any platform in my Instagram. You can go to the link tree and opens all the different ways to connect. I always get like a 30 minutes consultation if you want to look for an event. or any kind of composition. That's the way I get challenged whenever somebody approach me for something, because I plan things for a specific audience. In this song, it's love. Trip Sprague play with me, even though the project was in Brazil. He's playing his amazing saxophone here. He also played in my first EP, which is also in all platforms. It has bossa nova, jazz, and it's amazing to have performed with him recently in an event. So it just depends. And vocally, I start a show thinking I have to go through specifically where is the audience. I adjust to it with my repertoire that's now very different all over.
Yes.
You can connect from any platform.
Yes. I have left for all of you her platforms on the description of this video, and the audio, so you can definitely go and connect with her and follow her on every social media platform, and also listen to her music in Spotify, watch her videos in YouTube, and believe me, you're gonna love her. You're gonna love her music. Her content is really pretty. I loved it. I was really impressed, and I thank you. Thank you so much
I
for what
really,
you're
really
doing.
appreciate. It's very nice to see how you have the interest to stop and hear this crazy Brazilian lady. Yes, it is amazing. And if anybody wants to collaborate, I receive a lot of poems and things. Usually, when people are like, let's do this. And if you want to do some of that, I only have this, but that's how it is. We got to do it together. It takes a village. I appreciate everybody who's been in this process with me from the beginning. It's beautiful.
I love it. Thank you so much, Carla, for being here with us
Thank
today,
you.
and giving your time to us, and sharing your beautiful work with everybody. So thank you so much for what you're doing. Ladies and gentlemen, you guys have to go into the description of this podcast and go and follow Carla, connect with her, listen to her music. I promise you, you're not going to regret it. You're going to love it. Every single beat and sound of every song that she has. In the meantime, like always, don't forget to unlock your potential and be fearless. Bye.